Hi guys. So it's been a minute, but I have been watching a bunch of videos and trying to catch up because I was out of the loop for a little bit, just kind of dealing with other life things. And one thing that struck me when I kind of jumped back into the frying pan was all of a sudden the neighbor of Candace and Dawn who reported way back in the beginning that she heard a scream the night that, or the afternoon that Summer went missing, is suddenly huge to the story. And not necessarily the fact that she claims to have heard the scream, but just herself. It's all of a sudden, endless videos about her, and she's just this huge personality in the story all of a sudden. So let's look at Jodi Sue, the neighbor, and kind of from the beginning and how she kind of transpired into a major force here. Initially, in the days and weeks that followed the disappearance of Summer, we heard a report that the neighbor, so the direct neighbor to Candace and Dawn, had reported that she and her two teenage children heard a scream at the hour that Summer was believed to have gone missing. And you would think it would be a huge bombshell, but I even remember at that time thinking that it almost seemed not swept under the rug exactly, but it almost seemed like it wasn't met with much fanfare, right? Not from the police, not from the public. You know, in a lot of groups in all the months that have passed, every now and then you'll see somebody kind of type. I'm talking about like the social media groups dedicated to Summer. You'll see people type every now and again like, whatever happened with that scream that was reported. Now if the police did take it very serious, they certainly didn't really let the public know that. There was kind of a mixed reaction. Some people definitely were like, oh, there was a screams, that's really important to the story. But a lot of people just kind of were like, oh, maybe she just thought that the scream could have been Summer, could have been anything, could have been one of the boys, could have been, I even heard could have been one of the dogs, mistaken for a scream. And then there was a lot of other people who just really kind of dismissed it and said, no, it's just the neighbor looking for her 15 minutes of fame. Um, and then we didn't really hear much from her anymore. But apparently, Go Quietly Into the Night was not what happened because behind the scenes, she allegedly was dealing with a lot of her own personal stuff, which she reports to have included a relationship that was riddled with DV, and she's had some health issues and other things. And on top of that, she has received a lot of unkind messages, even threats. So at some point, she actually leaves Ben Hill Road and she relocates to another area to live. But she became very active on social media. And that's not to say she wasn't active. I mean, she was on social media even before Summer went missing, but she started speaking out and she started doing more videos and lives and kind of telling more about herself, her life. But in the beginning, she was actually very supportive of Candace. Now she didn't say too much about Dawn, but she was very supportive of Candace. She flat out said she did not believe in any way that Candace would have harmed Summer. Things took a turn. And things took a turn when Chris from the interview room, released the unedited version of his interview with Allison, her mom, and Hunter. Now, I guess he had released it prior, but only to his his members. But he hadn't made it public to everybody until more recently. And when he did, Hunter names, he doesn't say specifically that that's who this person is, but it looks like Jodi Sue took it, and so did a lot of other people, to believe that he was referring to her either husband or boyfriend. I don't believe that they were married, but I could be wrong. He says that this individual is the one. If you remember, he talked about how he went into Candace's phone and there was messages from a drug dealer that said, "It is done." Well, he claims that this person's name was Andrew or Andy, and that happened to be the name of the neighbor, Jodi Sue's husband or slash boyfriend. She loses it. She loses it. She is on social media. She is pissed. And who, by the way, she has left this man, but and actually refers to him as a monster, the monster. But she defends him up and down, saying that he did not sell drugs to the Wells. He may have given them a little bit of weed, but like nothing else. They went elsewhere for their drugs. And she is just pissed off that Hunter has named this person. And I watched the interview. I mean, he does say Andrew or Andy, but he never actually says, the neighbor's husband or Jodi Sue's husband. But she definitely takes it to mean that that's who he's referring to, and she's all over it. She is just defending him up and down. And I was thinking, like, well, that's really weird, because like you left him under accusations that he basically tortured you and your children for like 26 years, and you're so adamantly defending him on social media. I personally, even if I thought that he was innocent, I would probably just say nothing. Right? Or maybe if somebody asked me straight out, I might say, no, I don't think he did anything. But I don't think that I would go on this, this parade all over social media to defend him. So that's like a little bit weird to me, but I don't know. Maybe she just felt like she didn't want it to somehow put her in a bad light or make people start to think something about her. So maybe that's why she felt like she had to defend him. I don't know. But nonetheless, she does. And then you start to see her turning on the Wells. Okay. All of a sudden, she goes from like, I know. Like Candace would never hurt that baby. She starts to go from that to basically calling them all kinds of names and talking about how they lived and, how they made her life miserable on that hill because of, the shady people that they always had around and all of the drug use that went on over there and the partying and the noise. And, Candace had all these young kids around and she used them to babysit and she let them do whatever and party at her house. I mean, accusations galore. And it's just kind of funny to see how she went from being, almost defensive of people thinking Candace did something to her just, really throwing them under the bus. But she says that, that they are actually the ones throwing her under the bus because, she's saying, I don't understand like why they would bring up Andy's name. Da, 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 da. Well, during all of this craziness, this tarot card reading that happens, right? And like with all these true crime cases, there's always these mediums or tarot card readers or psychics that do all of these true crime readings, right? And usually people don't pay too much mind to them. Some people are really into it, but they probably don't put a lot of stock into it, and even if they do personally believe it, it doesn't become like a major part of the story usually. Well, this one reader does this reading, and I watched it, and it becomes like a thing. She says that she had it was a little strange, and I'm all about the paranormal, that, right? But this was a little weird. She's like, Jodi Sue's higher self has led me to this reading because she wants this out there. Okay. And she actually literally says that Jodi Sue is covering for her son, that her son ran over Summer and killed her, and Jodi Sue is defending him or covering for him. And normally, like, you wouldn't think too much because there's, like I said, there's always these psychics come up with all of these theories of how these different crimes happened. But I started to see on social media people repeating this story, and not saying like, oh, this tarot card reader said this, but they start like actually repeating it as though it's like a valid theory. And then that becomes this sensationalized part of the story because people are repeating it and believing it. And I don't think that they necessarily know where the information came from. And they start to think that it's, I listen, believe what you will. I'm not saying I don't believe in tarot card readers or whatever. I'm just saying that it's not usually taken as like a real valid source of information on these cases. But this one kind of snowballed into people really believing it and repeating it, and maybe not necessarily knowing where the information originated from. So now you have this woman who initially, months ago, was just the neighbor that heard a scream. And now all of a sudden, here she is, and it's like the husband's the drug dealer, the son is the killer. I mean, it's like, and all the while, and I don't know this woman from Eve, so I don't know if she's batshit crazy. I don't know if she's a liar. I don't know anything about her. All I know is she does right now currently have some health issues, and she did have to move, and she did get a lot of threats, and all of these other things happened, and she hasn't been accused of anything. And yet here she is with these huge accusations looming over her family. And it's just bizarre to me. It's bizarre to me because how did we go from like she was just the neighbor that may or may not have heard a scream or may not have heard Summer or maybe heard one of the other kids to all of a sudden her son is the killer, her husband's the drug dealer, and like how is he involved? And like, right? It's a lot. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about Jodi Sue? Do you believe that she is truthful? Have you even listened to her? Do you think that she's just trying to cash in on it? So, one YouTuber who runs I'm No Thanks Investigates had her on his live, and he put up a Venmo for her, and people were donating money to help her relocate or move, I guess. And that's the only time that I know of where there was like a financial payoff. And that was completely like Doug doing that of his own free will that I could see. I didn't see her asking him to do that. But I haven't really seen her making money off of it otherwise. So I don't know. Is she in it for the fame, the attention? I would say no, just because all of those initial months, I mean, she didn't seem to be chasing, the limelight. It kind of looked like it came for her, if anything, other than her reporting to the police that she heard the scream. So, um, and what do you think about her flip-flopping on the Wells like this from kind of being a staunch supporter to really throwing them under the bus? Is is it retaliation because she feels like they are, throwing everybody else on that hill under the bus to take the attention off of themselves? And, she's just really pissed off that, her son and her ex and everybody else in her family seems to be, including herself, as potentially covering things up, that they seem to be being attacked, and she sees the Wells as a huge part of that because they're pointing fingers and kind of, you know, trying to put everybody else's name out there to take away from their own. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I've been really watching all of this for a few days and trying to kind of unravel how this began, how we went from the neighbor who didn't even seem to have a name. She was just the neighbor that heard the scream to, there she is, on every video, and everybody's talking about her, and now her whole family seems to be, suspect. I don't know. So let me know what you think about her, about that the interview or the unedited interview, and if if you think Hunter was even talking about him. I mean, that's a pretty common name. Could have been talking about anybody. I didn't see him naming him specifically. He just said Andrew or Andy. So let me know what you think. Okay? See you soon. Bye.